care about this building because it's the oldest synagogue in the District of Columbia. We're going to preserve it so that it can be moved to a new site where it will be a companion to a brand new Washington Jewish Museum.
The museum itself will be able to tell the story of Jews in Washington.
This is really an exciting moment for us to transition from being a historical society into being a museum. For the past 60 years, the Jewish Historical Society of Greater Washington has been this sort of archive and repository of stories about Jewish Washingtonians, Jewish families here.
I became involved in this project 35 years ago when I moved from out of town, from Philadelphia, and I married into the small family. The Jewish Historical Society was a way for me to connect, was a way for me to learn about the history of Washington, was a way to understand how Washington has evolved. And now, 35 years later, we're preparing to build this incredible museum.
Having a museum in Washington that speaks about our history and the impact that this community has had, not just on ourselves, but on the country as a whole, is going to be great.
This is really a big moment for us to step out from what we've been and become a much bigger public face. A couple years ago, we moved this historic synagogue right into the middle of 3rd Street, where it's been hanging out for the last couple of years. And next spring, we're going to actually pick up the synagogue again. We'll move it down the street to the corner of 3rd and F Street, just a block from the building museum, and we'll begin to construct this stunning new museum facility. And that will be the start of our new incarnation as a museum. You'll come up the front steps, enter between the historic synagogue and the new museum building, literally between the past and the future. And you'll come into this flood-lit atrium space. You can go into the historic synagogue right from the lobby of the museum and sort of be immersed back in time, starting with some of those early stories of Washington just after the Civil War. And then you'll go upstairs into the sanctuary of the synagogue, and we imagine a really immersive, technology-rich experience where we'll use oral histories and sounds from the past and images from the past to really imagine what life might have been like in Washington back in the day. When you come out of the sanctuary, you'll cross a bridge and you'll walk into our main core exhibition gallery. And there we'll talk about some of the big impacts of Jewish Washington: advocacy, diplomacy, the impact of negotiation on Capitol Hill and in the Supreme Court, impacts in the White House and abroad.
To be able to bring us together to one place, to know that there's one single institution that we can all connect with, no matter where we've come from. This is ours. This is our community.
I think that the legacy of this museum could be, how do we pass on our values, our goals, our aspirations to the next generation, to our children and our children's children.
I'm a museum gal. I really deeply believe in the power of museums to connect people, to bring them together, to get them thinking about their future. We really want to tell the stories of Jewish Washington. We want to share your objects. We want to share your stories. This is a museum about people who literally built this city and who came to Washington to have a global impact, to think about what their legacy could be. And I think this is the moment really to think about what your legacy will be, what impact you can have on the future generations of this city.